Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tell you a story that will stay with you long after the video ends. Because it's not just about money or power, it's about instinct, sacrifice, and a father's love that saved a life in ways no one expected. It was still early morning when the city was just beginning to wake up. The sidewalks were damp from the night's rain, reflecting pale orange streetlights as cars slowly filled the roads. Outside a towering glass office building, one man was already working, pushing a worn janitor's cart across the marble entrance. His name was Daniel Brooks. To most people who passed him, he was invisible, just another janitor in a faded uniform, cleaning up after people who would never bother to learn his name. Daniel was a single dad. Every morning before sunrise, he dropped his 8-year-old daughter Lily at his neighbor's apartment before heading to work. Her mother had passed away 3 years earlier, and since then, Daniel's entire world revolved around keeping Lily safe, fed, and hopeful, even when his own life felt like it was hanging by a thread. That morning, Daniel felt unusually uneasy. He couldn't explain it, but something about the air felt off. As he swept the steps near the entrance, he noticed a sleek black luxury car pull up to the curb. The vehicle practically whispered wealth. Polished, tinted windows, custom rims. A driver stepped out first, scanning the area before opening the rear door. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped out. This was Victor Hale, the CEO of one of the city's most powerful tech companies. He was known for his sharp mind, ruthless efficiency, and a schedule so tight that even seconds mattered. Victor adjusted his cufflinks, glanced at his watch, and prepared to step toward the building. That was when Daniel noticed something that made his heart skip. The car was still running. At first glance, that didn't seem unusual. But Daniel's eyes dropped to the front wheel. A small shimmer, a slow, unnatural drip. Fuel. Gasoline was leaking from beneath the car, spreading across the pavement, inching closer to a discarded cigarette but someone had tossed nearby earlier that morning. Daniel froze for half a second. Then instinct took over. "Don't get in the car," he yelled at the top of his lungs. The sound cut through the morning like a siren. Everyone stopped. The driver turned sharply, startled. Victor halted mid-step, his face tightening with annoyance. He looked toward Daniel, irritation flashing in his eyes. "What did you say?" Victor snapped. Daniel dropped his broom and ran forward, his heart pounding. "Sir, don't get back in that car, please. It's leaking fuel." The driver looked offended. "Back off," he said. "Do your job." Victor's expression hardened. Years of being obeyed instantly had trained him to dismiss interruptions. "Who do you think you are?" he said coldly. "Step away." But Daniel didn't step away. He moved closer, pointing at the ground. "Look, right there. Gasoline if that ignites." Before he could finish, a faint spark jumped as the car door brushed metal. In the same instant, a small flame flickered near the puddle. Someone screamed. The driver shouted and stumbled backward. Victor's eyes widened as reality slammed into him. The flame danced closer to the fuel trail, and within seconds, it could have reached the tank. "Everyone back!" Daniel yelled. He grabbed a nearby fire extinguisher mounted near the entrance, yanked it free, and without hesitation, sprayed the foam across the pavement and under the car. The flame hissed and died out, leaving behind smoke and the sharp smell of chemicals. Silence followed. Heavy, stunned silence. Victor stood frozen, his breath shallow. He stared at the ground, then at Daniel, then at the car he had been seconds away from stepping back into. Security rushed forward. Building staff gathered. The driver's face had gone pale. If Daniel hadn't shouted, if he hadn't acted, the explosion could have been catastrophic. Victor finally spoke, his voice low and shaken. "You just saved my life." Daniel nodded, his hands trembling now that the adrenaline was fading. "I couldn't let you get hurt," he said simply. Victor studied him for a long moment. For the first time in years, he saw someone not as an employee, not as a background figure, but as a human being standing right in front of him. "What's your name?" Victor asked. Daniel Brooks." "Thank you, Daniel," Victor said. "Seriously." Emergency services arrived quickly. The area was secured. The faulty fuel line was confirmed. A few more seconds, and the outcome could have been unthinkable. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Daniel returned to his cart. He assumed that was the end of it. A scary moment, then back to sweeping floors and scrubbing hallways. He was wrong. Later that day, Daniel was called into the building manager's office. His stomach knotted as he walked in. He'd been yelled at before for speaking out of turn. He feared he might be in trouble for shouting at a CEO. Inside the office, Victor Hale was waiting. Daniel stiffened. "Sir, if I did something wrong," Victor held up a hand. "You didn't." He gestured for Daniel to sit. "I asked to see you because I haven't been able to stop thinking about what happened this morning." Daniel sat slowly, unsure what to say. Victor leaned back. "You didn't hesitate. You didn't think about your job, or who I was. You just acted." Daniel swallowed. "I'm a dad," he said quietly. "When you're responsible for a kid, you don't ignore danger. Ever." Victor's expression softened. "Tell me about that." And Daniel did. He talked about Lily, about losing his wife, about working double shifts just to keep food on the table, about how every day he worried what would happen to his daughter if something happened to him. Victor listened, truly listened. When Daniel finished, the room was quiet again. I built my company believing logic was everything, Victor said, but today, instinct saved my life. Your instinct? He paused. I want to do something for you. Daniel shook his head immediately. I don't want money, I just did what anyone should. Victor smiled faintly. That's exactly why I want to help. Over the next few days, Daniel's life began to change in ways he never imagined. Victor arranged for Daniel to receive a full scholarship to a technical training program the company sponsored, a path into a stable, higher-paying career, flexible hours, benefits, healthcare. But that wasn't all. One afternoon, Victor asked Daniel to bring Lily to the office. Lily clung shyly to her father's hand as they stepped inside the towering building she'd only ever seen from the outside. Victor knelt down in front of her. Your dad is a hero, he said gently. Lily beamed with pride. As weeks turned into months, Daniel transitioned into a new role. He still worked hard, but now he came home earlier. He helped Lily with her homework. They ate dinner together at the table instead of grabbing food on the go. And Victor changed too. He started noticing people he'd once overlooked: janitors, security guards, receptionists. He asked their names. He listened. The incident with the car haunted him, not out of fear, but out of realization. How close he'd come to losing everything because he'd been too busy, too important, too disconnected to see the warning signs around him. One evening, months later, Victor stood in the parking garage, staring at his repaired car. Daniel was nearby, finishing his shift. Victor called out, Daniel. Daniel turned. Yes, sir. Victor shook his head. I told you, call me Victor. Daniel smiled. Old habits. Victor laughed quietly. If you hadn't yelled that morning, I don't think I'd be here. Daniel looked thoughtful. Funny thing is, he said, if I hadn't had Lily, I might have stayed quiet. But being a dad teaches you something. Sometimes you have to speak up, even when no one wants to listen. Victor nodded slowly. You changed more than just my schedule that day. The two men stood there, not as CEO and janitor, but as fathers, as humans, bound by a single moment that rewrote both their lives. So the next time you feel invisible, the next time you think your voice doesn't matter, remember this. One shout, one warning, one act of courage can echo further than you'll ever know. Because sometimes, the people the world overlooks are the very ones who save it.